All right, well, good evening. Welcome to our very special event tonight. I am Todd Freeman, and I have the privilege of serving as the superintendent in this wonderful school system. But I would tell you that my favorite title in this system is Dad. I've got two, and I love the fact that I get to be a dad to kids that attend this school system. And there's a lot of really important reasons why that is for 56 years that's made this place special, and we get to celebrate some of that tonight. So in the fact that we had to reschedule from the frigid cold to, we thought we'd order up at least a little bit of element for you tonight with rain, so I'm glad that you're here in spite of those things. Really, so proud to have you, and in a beautiful place to do this. So I want to welcome you to the 6th annual induction ceremony for the Vestavia Hills Schools Educator Hall of Fame. Tonight's a special night to honor the legacy of excellence in teaching that is the cornerstone of our school system. And we have many distinguished guests here tonight, including our inductees and their families and this year's Teacher of the Year. But I want to make some recognitions first before we start. This is our 6th year, so we have had other inductees in the Hall of Fame. But I want you to meet them if you didn't know who they were. This is a little dangerous, so if I miss somebody, please, you deserve to speak up and say you missed me, okay? All right, so first of all, we've got Beverly Basil's here in the back. There, Beverly, stand up so everybody can see. She and I have been over there talking about Broadway and Wicked and all those fun things. Welcome tonight. Brian Kane's with us tonight. The man's been walking dogs at 5:30 a.m. for a long time, hasn't he? I run into it, or sort of run past him. Yeah, all right, Brian, good to see you. We have Barbara Gajewski is here. It's a award-winning counseling program she helped establish, still running strong. Glad to have you tonight. George Hatchett, I saw film in. Coach, where are you? All right, we've got Malvise Mann that's here tonight. All right, and Jim Williams is here tonight. Jim? Okay, did I miss somebody?
My mother, Brownie Jones, she is a retiree of the City Hills High School.
Retiree Brownie Jones for the state. Well, I tell you what, while we're on the notion of retirees, do we have others in the room that are retirees of the school system? Yes, raise your hand real tall there. I see some of the faces I know. Yeah. See one I know real well back there. Yeah. Hey, welcome. You being here means a lot, and it's special, I think, to the inductees and their families just to come out and do this. So thank you guys for being here. A successful school system, I think we can all appreciate, rests on the leadership of a Board of Education. And I have to tell you that in my 8 years as serving in this position, I've had the pleasure of serving with some exemplary board members, except David Powell, but the rest of them are really good. He's one of them, in fact, hired me, and I'm forever grateful of that. But so many that have come through over the years. I see other board members from years past that have served, and it really does begin there, and this year's no exception. We've got a board that I would just tell you embodies character. They believe in a standard of excellence. They are built with integrity. They're smart people. They challenge me. They love children, and they love supporting teachers, and I'm really appreciative of that. And they're parents in our schools, and I just want you to know who they are. Our president is Jay Stewart. Our vice president is Jonathan Handy. We have Kyle Whittington with us tonight, who's a parent. He and I are parents at Dolly Ridge. Amber Tarakitis and Shelley Gentle. They have other commitments tonight, but Kyle, appreciate you coming. I also want to recognize a really important part of how we are able to operate successfully, and that's we have a strong partnership with our city council, our mayor, and that is critical to our ability to do the things that we need to do. And Ashley Curry, our mayor, has been with us for a number of years. Have had kids come through our school system and graduate, and to me is one of our greatest champions. He and our city council want to see our school succeed and partner with us in so many ways. And I asked, just on the spur of the moment a minute ago, I asked Ashley if he'd deliver some comments tonight. So if you'll join me in welcoming Ashley Curry.
is to be here for this because I see a lot of teachers that my children had, and then of course I'm delighted to have grandchildren in the school system now. So yes, my wife and I are here in Vestavia, and we're going to be here to stay for a while, whether I'm the mayor or not. But I want to leave you with one thought, and to show you how well our school system is respected. We do a survey every 2 years, and some of you may have gotten one of the ballots that goes out. We make sure that there's enough ballots received so that the information is statistically significant. The number one reason people move to Vestavia, the school system. We've never forgotten that, and I hope our residents never forget that. And yeah, we deal with other quality of life things that the city addresses, but schools are number one. So I congratulate all the teachers here, certainly the Hall of Fame members, because y'all made all of this happen. So thank you very much.
All right, so almost 56 years ago, our school system began. Pat Boone will tell you that if you want to hear the story. He said it started April 30th, 1970, and from there, here we are today. I would like to say that we've been blessed over the years with exceptional and really what we call in our strategic plan elite educators, teachers who care for our students, and I think they challenge them in ways that impressionable minds need to be challenged. And look to set a very high standard for them, and that's always been the legacy of our schools. And I vouch for this, as I told you, as a parent as well, of having two in school. The teachers in our classrooms are committed professionals who love children, and more importantly, love the ideal of our children learning and growing. They're driven by the belief that every child, no matter their ability, has the opportunity and should have the opportunity to learn without any limitations in place, and that is a goal that we set. Every student in our classroom, and I think you ask any teacher, would tell you that they are valued and important. And I would say that for teachers, that mindset is the invaluable difference and ingredient for our school system. The rich tradition of outstanding educators lives on with the recognition of this year's Teacher of the Year. This group of teachers represent more than 123 years of experience in the classroom. So what we'd like to do in this program is really talk about now and talk about our legacy by recognizing Teachers of the Year and our inductees into the Hall of Fame. So I want to start, as I said, with our Teachers of the Year, and I want to invite you guys to the stage. So come up and join me. Let's welcome the 2025-26 Teachers of the Year. It's open mic night now, so get ready. Here we go. All right. You are. Okay, this is Angie Olby. You could introduce yourself, but I'll do it, okay? And this is Angie Olby, who's an 8th grade teacher at Bazette Middle School. And I want to share some things as we walk down the line, so forgive me for using this, but I want you to hear what your principals and what other people in your building say about you. What is really impressive about this recognition is their peers say they are the Teachers of the Year. And I think we all recognize the meaning when it's the people around you who say you're deserving of being up here. And so they represent, I think, really the best of the best. So, Angie, what was said of you is the word authentic. And a phrase was a dedicated and passionate no, that's not, I got the wrong one. I'm sorry, I'm going to come back. This is what they said about you. This is even better. This is even better. They said intentional. Okay. I love this. She's the heart. I heard this afternoon. I said, we got to say that. She's the heart of our 8th grade team. That's really good. So I'm going to ask them a question. Okay, they prepped for this. They've been preparing for months for this, right? I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I want you to just respond. First of all, why do you teach?
I teach, it's not the popular opinion, but I teach because I love middle school. I've taught middle school my entire education career. And I think the critters that I have come into my classroom every single day, I think they're just so beautiful. And I want them to realize their importance. And I want them to accept themselves as they are, because in middle school, goodness gracious, they are hot and cold from one second to the next. And you don't always know what you're going to get. So it keeps me on my toes, but it just brings light to my day. So I teach because I love middle school.
So the other question I ask is a teacher who has made a difference in their life.
So, okay. It was not a middle school teacher, which is kind of funny because I love middle school so much, but it was definitely my high school biology teacher and human anatomy teacher. She was the first teacher who saw me, and it was so beautiful. And in hindsight, she did so much for me because she saw me outside of just being a student or a cheerleader, the obvious things. She saw me and she wanted to talk to me and she wanted to get to know me and my friends. And even the years that I didn't have her, I would always stop by. It was just a very natural thing because we just had a very casual but fun relationship with one another. So Ms. Julie Nelson, Pelham High School, class of 2003, she's still teaching. She's still going strong there, and I just admire her so much. So oftentimes in school, whenever I'm struggling, it's like, what would Ms. Nelson do? So she is my inner wisdom.
Congratulations. Katie Smith is with us tonight. She is the Vestavia Hills Elementary East Teacher of the Year. Been teaching with us several years in 5th grade. And so I want you to hear what your principal said about you and what one of your colleagues said about you. All right. So let's see. Here we go. Passionate is the word by your principal. And the phrase is epitome of a great teacher and teammate. I think that's awesome. So, why do you teach?
Okay, I was preparing. I was thinking about why I teach, and it's the cliche answer. I always saw myself as a teacher. I always loved being around kids, and I love being a teacher because it's always something different. Very few jobs do you laugh all day long, and it's really cool. I feel like in the career that we have, we are making an impact on all the future careers and all the future generations, and what other careers can say that. So it's really cool just to be that person.
Good teacher that made a difference in your life.
Miss Owens, my 5th grade teacher, which is really fun because I teach 5th grade. And I don't remember a single thing she taught me, but I remember all the way she made me feel. And I know in that year that I learned a lot too, but the fun times that we had and the things that we did together and how she valued me and got to know me, I'll never forget.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, our Teacher of the Year, Vestavia Hills Elementary Kyle Heights, is Lori Post. And she is, this is what your principal says about you, Lori. Inspirational. That's pretty cool. And one of your colleagues says, unwavering student first focus. That's awesome. So, tell us, why do you teach?
I was also preparing for this question, and I was actually telling my husband on the way back from lunch, I was like, I could stand up here and say, I love the organizational task, I love the people that I work with, I love getting to be in student-facing opportunities, but I really just love what I do. I feel joy-filled when I get to walk into our building and be around all of our amazing children, and I get a unique opportunity to make an impact on kids that really struggle with some reading deficits. So, yeah, just making an impact on kids.
Teacher who's made a difference in your life.
My 7th grade English teacher was definitely that teacher for me. Her name was Miss White, and that was up in Florence, Alabama, if you're familiar. She had clear and consistent expectations for us, and I always knew what was expected of me when I walked through her door. So just remember loving going in her class.
Good. Congratulations, Lori. Okay, joining us from Vestavia Hills Elementary West is Sarah Woodruff. And Sarah, your principal says of you intentional. And one of your colleagues notes that you are a person who captures the heart of her students. All right, so tell us why you teach.
also was preparing. I love school. That's my answer, is I love school. I always have loved school. I loved playing school in my room. And I have lots of family that were teachers, and I used to love setting up their classrooms for the first day of school. So when it came time to choose, I loved the idea of being a teacher. And like everything they've said, I loved the kids. I love teaching them. I love like seeing those light bulb moments. I also love getting to learn myself and continuing learning and growing and seeing them learn and grow. It's just fun. My teacher is Miss Marsh. She was my 6th grade reading teacher, and she showed me that you can read books other than nonfiction, specifically biographies on presidents, because that's all I read. And so she had a challenge, and she got me to read all different genres, and it's really fun because now that's what I do. And I'm constantly reading books with my kids and having discussions and getting them to see that reading is fun, and there's so many fun books you can read.
Vestavia Hills High School freshman campus. This is Peyton James. Peyton teaches biology. I've actually sat in on a class, I think, sometime this year. You were educating us on some stuff about biology and things hard like that. Your principal says that you're impactful. And one of your colleagues says that you are an incredibly gifted teacher. That's very meaningful. So why do you teach?
So, preparing as well. I was kind of sitting and thinking about this, and something that kept popping in my head is my sister-in-law and I have a joke when we go shop together, when we are kind of like back and forth, should we get this, should we not? And we'll finally look at each other and say, well, does it bring you joy? And if the answer is yes, you get what you're looking at. And that's just what kept popping in my head when I was trying to answer this question, because honestly, it just brings me joy. I love the kids. I love who I get to work with every day. I love that I get to teach a subject that I love, and hopefully share that love with my students to where when they leave at the end of the year, they have at least something they liked about the class, or they have maybe a newfound confidence in the material. So it just brings me joy, and I'm thankful for a job that's different every day and keeps me on my toes and keeps me engaged and challenges me.
So teachers made a difference.
I'm privileged that this is a hard question to answer, but I think if I had to pick one teacher, it would probably be my mom. She's been teaching for over 30 years, and so I got to grow up watching her teach. The elementary school I went to, she taught in middle school, so I got to walk over to her every day and spend the afternoon in her classroom and actually see her in action with her students, and so that was very just awesome to see, one, how important the relationships you build with the students are and how impactful that can be, and then also just how lucky and like the opportunity you have to, she's a science teacher too, so how you can really share like a love for a subject with the kids where they hopefully love it too. So that meant a lot to me, and that was a big reason why I wanted to be a teacher in the first place.
Congratulations. I learned something about, I'm 56 and I've been married 16 and a half years, and I've just realized why my wife is so joyful. No, you didn't get that, did you? She loves to shop too. Yeah. I didn't know that was the correlation. All right, Stacy Freeman's with us, Liberty Park Middle School Teacher of the Year, and your principal says this about you. This is you, authentic. All right, a dedicated and passionate educator. So Stacy, tell us why you teach.
Well, I teach for the salary and the benefits. No, I teach because I love to see the growth in my students. And so after 23 years, middle school is my favorite place, and I call my students my sweet, darling angel, honey, baby, sugar loves. And they repeat it, and they try to memorize it, and they think it's so funny. But I truly mean it. When they come in my room, I want them to know that I love them for who they are and where they are. And that's a lot of different places. I don't know very many people that would want to go back to middle school. I kind of feel like sometimes it can be the armpit of America. Like people are like, if I could go back to any point in my life, I would go to middle school. Because everybody's weird and they're awkward and they say strange things and they don't mean it. And they just need somebody to love them through them and guide them. And then they come back in high school and as adults, and they're just these amazing people. And you're like, I knew they could do it. And so it's very rewarding to see what they do when they grow up, and you had just a tiny piece in that.
My favorite teacher, Miss Barbara Welch, Alexandria Elementary School, 5th grade and 6th grade social studies, because she loved me and she challenged me at a really hard time in my life. And she came to my baby showers and my weddings and my dad's funeral, and she and I are still in touch today. And I try to do that for my kids. And when I say my kids, they're all in their 30s now, like some of these people up here. And they teach with me, and they call me for advice, and they talk to me. And I've been able to be a part of so many things simply because Miss Welch did that for me, and I want to do that for all of my kids.
Congratulations, Tessa. Okay, from Dolly, Vestavia Hills Elementary, Dolly Ridge, this is Kate Smith. And Kate, of course, teaches there, been teaching there for a number of years, and your principal says this about you, intentional. And one of your colleagues says the embodiment of kindness and compassion. That's fantastic. So tell us why you teach.
So personally, I feel like God has created every single one of us for a specific purpose, and I feel like He created me to be a teacher. And I, like someone else said, began teaching my baby dolls from a very young age, and that's what I've always wanted to do. I love being around children. I love being around kids. I love being able to see the joy. If you want to, when you teach kindergarten, your people love you, and that's a lot of fun. I love to provide a secure, stable place for my kids that when they come, they know what to expect, that they know and they feel that they're loved. I love to be able to be creative. This is a place where you can truly show all the creativity and the lessons you provide for your students. And then to be able to celebrate successes, whether it's big or small, to be able to celebrate along with them, and to be able to share with parents the progress that their children have made. All of that is leads into why I want to be a teacher. My high school drama teacher, Carol McAdams, her room was a place where everyone was welcome, everyone felt accepted, and she saw the potential in everyone. Whether we had much drama, talent or not, she made us feel like we did.
Congratulations.
And from Vestavia Hills High School, Hannah Peterson teaches health science at the high school, and she has been there a number of years in a lot of different capacities that she does for our schools. But your principal says of you that you're a cultivator. And one of your colleagues says a consummate professional. So, why do you teach?
Well, unlike most of the teachers up here, I didn't start out to be a teacher. I love athletics, and I wanted to work in athletics, and I became an athletic trainer, and I helped athletes take care of their bodies. And in that process, I realized how much I enjoyed teaching them about their bodies and doing so at different capacities. And then I was like, ooh, maybe I want to teach. Let's try this out. And Vestavia gave me the amazing opportunity to start a sports medicine pathway where I found the cheat code to teaching. I show up every single day teaching what I'm most passionate about to kids who want to learn it. And I get to pretend to be Miss Frizz from the Magic School Bus and do crazy simulations every single day. And they're always looking at me like, what's next? Okay, Miss Frizz, let's go. I'm stuck. I have found my passion. Not stuck, stuck's not the right word, but I have found my passion, my blessing, and my purpose. That would be Roger Grantham. He was my history teacher in middle school, and then later my basketball coach and my softball coach in high school. He was very intentional about getting to know me, not as a student, not as an athlete, but who I was as a person, what lit my fires, what angered me, what subdued me, what I was scared of. At times I felt like the expectations he held for me were not fair in comparison to other people, but he taught me the valuable lessons that one, comparison is the thief of all joy, and over time taught me that desiring fairness was the mindset of the mediocre, and I wanted to be anything but mediocre. He breathed life into me, he breathed confidence, he helped build me into believing in the things that I was capable of, even when he knew it and I didn't. And that's the blueprint in which I teach, in which I take care of my athletes, and the way I mentor.
Congratulations. I won't go down the path of preaching, but I'm going to say this. Last week I delivered some comments to a group of superintendents about our schools. And I say unabashedly that I believe in public schools. I've been in it my entire life. I believe it is the best choice in our community, and there's one single solitary reason why. Don't you feel good? There's 500 that feel the same way, that do this kind of work, and they just light up when they talk about what they do. We're in really good hands. How many of you are retired military or active military? Okay, you might recognize the challenge coin, sir. That's something that I know is an important part of military, and I have been given a couple before. I'm not military, but it was quite an honor to receive one from someone who was retired military. And they are just a symbol, I think, of respect, camaraderie. It's just a high mark, I think, when you get one of these from someone that just says, we appreciate you. And we've been doing this for a few years, giving challenge coins for those who earn high marks, we feel like, in our schools, and our teachers of the year certainly do. So I'm going to give you one of these as you sit down, and then Whit's going to play a video to brag on you just a little bit more, okay? All right, thanks.
I started teaching when I was 5 years old, teaching my baby dolls. And I feel like everyone has a calling, and this is what my purpose is. I have these children during the week more than their parents have them, quality time-wise. And that is a privilege and an honor and a big responsibility. And it's something that I always try to remember, not to waste any of the time that we have here at school.
I love this. Like, I want to do this again and again, and I truly feel that way. Like, I'm excited when I get to see my kids. I'm excited when they make the connections. I know that they see me as like their reading teacher, their math teacher, like this lady that comes into their classroom. But I want them to know that I'm a safe place, and I'm someone that's not going to judge them for who they truly are, and everyone deserves to feel loved, and they are valued, and this is their place to have those experiences and to feel that way.
I think when the kids walk in, when parents walk in, when visitors come in, I want them to immediately feel, I can settle in, I can take a breath in here. I don't want it to be a place of stress. I don't want it to be a source of anxiety, because I know that I'm going to cause them a little bit of stress, and I'm going to cause them a little bit of anxiety, and I'm going to do that on purpose because I want to coach them through it. I want to teach them that they can be successful with the tools that I'm giving them. And so I think if I can create a space where they know they're safe, they're protected, I'm going to help them, I'm going to meet them halfway, then I'm going to get a little bit more return on that investment.
Math and science, I'm going to teach. I mean, I'm going to get my standards in, but building the relationships with my students is why I'm here. When they come in, I want them to know they are loved. I want them to know they are respected. I want them to know that they are safe. And if they have those things, then they will learn. Their energy and their bright lights, that's what keeps me going, and that's what keeps me coming back year after year after year.
Something I love about biology is it's potentially the last life science class a lot of them are going to take, and it's the most relatable because it explains a lot of things that they have going on in the world around them and how they interact with things and so on. So I try to think about like how can we tie this in to where it relates back to themselves, because that I think makes it even more meaningful. It's like, oh, this is happening right now. It's fun, it's engaging, and it gives them something they can kind of think about, oh yeah, in the class we did this, and put all the pieces together. So as a kid, I hated to read. It was the worst thing for me ever. I think because of my experience being a reluctant reader, it's made me be able to meet the kids at their level and inspire them, and find kids that they don't love to read, but my goal is by the end they love to read. And it may not be that they are going to read 24/7 when they leave me, but they know that there are books that they love, there are books that are good, and that they can read a book that's going to push them and challenge them, and they're going to learn something from a book.
We are very intentional about developing character components within our academics. It's one of the best reasons why we're so different from any other school, middle school especially, in Alabama, it's not just about the academics. It's not, for me, it's not just about the science. It's, I want you to be a good person. Are we working together? Are we helping one another? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing to the best of our abilities? I think those life skills are essential.
I want to be a facilitator of what I teach. I want to be an encourager of what I teach, but I don't want to be like the teacher that stands at the front of the room and just teaches from a podium. So when the kids walk in here, I want them to see me moving around. I never sit down because I like to always be all over. I don't want them to be surprised when I pop over their shoulder and ask, a question or look at what they're doing. The things that we do in here, I want them to be hard and I want them to be challenging and I want them to have to work for everything that they get in this classroom because I want them to realize that they can achieve.
Well, I didn't start out being a teacher. I started out being an athletic trainer, and I loved being an athletic trainer. I loved working in sports and with athletes, and then I realized that I loved teaching my athletes about their bodies. So then I got into education, and I mean, how much of a blessing it is that I get to teach what I'm most passionate about to kids who show up every day wanting to learn it. And then we're putting them in clinical environments where they get to learn more from exposure, but also get to do the things that they love to do and the things that they've learned to do. And it really it doesn't really get more exciting than that.
One of the treasures, I think, in our community is the number of graduates that want to be a part of and live here and be leaders in different ways. And I mentioned David Powell just a few minutes ago, who was a board member that hired me, 1991 graduate of Vestavia Hills High School. And there's one guy that may have been just even better than David Powell, and that's a high mark, and it's our current board president. And he's also a class of 1991 graduate, right? Yes, he is. Jay Stewart, graduate class of 1991, is with us tonight, and I wanted him to just give some words to share with you about it before we talk about our guest of honor tonight, our Hall of Fame inductee. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you, and I don't think I've ever been, introduced as being better than David Powell, because that's impossible to do. But one thing we have in common is we are the class of 91, and we both feel we were fortunate to be at the pinnacle of Vestavia and represent the best class ever to graduate from Vestavia. But in saying all that, to steal something I think David would do here, when we define teachers, how do you do it? Modern day, and as David has taught me, we go to AI and see what AI says. So here's how it's defined, perplexity. But it's to inspire curiosity, guides learning, and help students discover the best within themselves. So how AI works, and David can better explain this to you, it scours the internet, it reads the books, and it comes up with the answer that we believe is the answer, the definition, more so than Webster's. Well, I think in AI world, what they did, or what it did, was literally study the teachers that we are here honoring tonight. And that's the definition of teacher personified. And Dave and I were lucky enough to have some of the teachers we're honoring. And whether it be a current teacher of the year or a Hall of Fame teacher, the common thread among all these individuals is that they have consistently gone above and beyond in making an extraordinary long-term impact on each student's life, on each school they served, and the Vestavia Hills community. I am fortunate enough to be before you because one of the teachers being honored tonight was my favorite teacher, Mr. Fred Jones. Mr. Jones used to always say, I'm a little piece of leather, and I'm well put together. And, you know, when each teacher that is here tonight is being recognized because they are responsible for putting the right pieces together in building Vestavia Hills City Schools as the best school system in the state of Alabama. As a proud graduate, my kids graduated. I have one son who's graduating this year. I want everyone to know how thankful and grateful my family and I are to you for allowing us to be enriched by you and making our education experience so wonderful and making our community so special. So I appreciate you letting me share with you just a little bit of my heart and thoughts, and as I end every talk, go Reds.
This year's Hall of Fame inductees were chosen from a field of nominees submitted by alumni, current and former school employees, and community members at large. The 4 distinguished honorees tonight represent the broadness of what an excellent student experience should be in Vestavia Hills. They collectively represent over 83 years of teaching experience as elementary teachers, a reading coach, English, debate, and social studies teachers. This distinguished group earned degrees from Indiana, Miles College, Montevallo, North Texas, Sanford, and UAB. And by the way, when I looked at all the colleges and universities of our Hall of Fame members and our current Teachers of the Year, UAB was the winner and Sanford was second, so our local college is represented well. We are privileged to have one of our inductees with us tonight and their family and friends, and the family and friends of our other 3 inductees as well. The assurance and encouragement I want to offer tonight to our families is that the legacy of our inductees, your family members, lives on in the generations of students that they have influenced. For them, teaching was a calling, not just a profession. Writer Tim Elmore tells a story about Mother Teresa that I think is appropriate, who was a little girl at the time when she decided she wanted to be a teacher. And she realized that dream and taught for a time. And later in life, she was visited by a group of business investors who wanted to see the work of the missions of charity that she had formed. One of them observed her washing the body of a man with leprosy. He said to her, "I wouldn't do that for $1 million. To which she replied, "Neither would I." That is a great description to me of the heart of a teacher and the heart of our inductees tonight. I want to share with you a few words in your nominations, in the nominations of our inductees, that explain why they are being honored this evening. Miss Marilee Dukes, it is said that she demanded excellence out of her students, and we wanted all to be excellent for her. She poured herself into her program, often working 60 hours a week. I bet the pay wasn't so good for that. But as much as she cared about debate, she cared more about the integrity and well-being of her students. Frederick Jones, his caring demeanor and witty approach to the heart of teaching is what I will forever remember, but most importantly, this life lesson I carry in my heart. He said to me, "Always watch your surroundings. Keep your reading, writing, and speaking consistent because it is your gift from God." How about that? Carolyn Lytle. She instilled a love of learning in her students, knowing that it would carry them through their school career and all of life. She was a leader and encouraged her fellow teachers at West. She taught with kindness, care for the individual student, and excellence. Love that. Mary Bice Williams. She dedicated her life to teaching and preparing children well for years, far beyond graduating high school. She always had a smile, a hug, and kind words of welcome for every student. Yesterday, our Board of Education approved resolutions for each of our inductees. So when I call the inductees' names, I would like for a family member or the inductee themselves to come up, and whoever would like to, and let me welcome you to the stage. And then I'm going to read the resolution, and invites you to share any comments, anyone that would like to from your family this evening. Okay? We're going to start with Mary Lee Dukes. You're in a good spot right up here. So whoever wants to come up, come on up. You want to do it? All right, come on.
I can come to you too.
She's debating with me. Okay, all right. Ready? Here we go. All right, whereas the Board of Education for the City of Vestavia Hills, Alabama was established on April 30th, 1970, and whereas the Vestavia Hills City Schools owes its 5-decade history to those faculty and staff members who have dedicated themselves to providing every student the opportunity to learn without limits. And whereas Mary Lee Dukes is an educator who was employed by the Vestavia Hills City Schools from 1983 to 2007. And whereas Ms. Dukes served as an English teacher and debate coach at Vestavia Hills High School. And whereas Ms. Dukes led the Vestavia Hills High School debate program to national prominence, guiding students and teams to numerous state and national championships. And whereas through Ms. Dukes' passion for teaching and her relentless pursuit of excellence, she inspired generations of students to think critically, communicate effectively, and lead with integrity. And whereas Ms. Dukes' influence extended well beyond the classroom, as she instilled confidence, curiosity, and a lifelong love of learning in all who had the privilege to learn from her. And whereas the Board of Education wishes to honor Mrs. Dukes for her lifetime of service and impact on thousands of lives in the city of Vestavia Hills and beyond. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, that the board hereby recognizes and congratulates Mary Lee Dukes as an inductee in the 2025 class of the Vestavia Hills City Schools Hall of Fame. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be recorded upon the minutes of this meeting and a copy presented to Ms. Dukes. Adopted and approved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, the second day of February 2026. Congratulations.
Whit told me I was supposed to say something. I have a master's degree in public address, so I can do that. Now, he also said that I asked him how long, and he said, oh, some have said 30 seconds and some have said 30 minutes. And I said, well, I'll guarantee you it won't be 30 minutes. One of the things that you're always emphasized when you are in a speech curriculum is stand up, speak up, and shut up. It's not a good idea to speak for 30 minutes. It's not a good idea to speak longer than 10. After that, nobody's listening. Well, it's true. I would say this is something that is really has struck me to be very important. And I'm kind of surprised. I've been inducted into several halls of fame because of my work with the Vestavia debate program. I'm a member of the National Speech and Debate Association Hall of Fame and the National Tournament of Champions, and I'm a key coach at the Barkley Forum at Emory University and all those nice things, but this means a lot. And I love what your resolution has to say. This means a lot to me because it is a collective, you're my peeps. You know, this is home. These are the people that sat across the room from me. These are people who are my debaters. These are people who are parents of my debaters. I can't tell you how much that means to me. These are people who are my friends and my family. I want you to know that my sister-in-law drove all the way from Mississippi to be here this evening. My brother died some 20 years ago, and Holly and I have remained very close for the entire time. So I'm really glad, because she couldn't have gotten out of Mississippi last Monday night. So I'm really glad we put this off until now. And I want to thank all of you people for coming out tonight. Over here is the mob from the best little church on top of a hill, Southminster Presbyterian Church, where we love the Lord and we love one another. And they pretty clearly demonstrated that they love me because they're here in this awful weather. I want to thank my book club. They're here too. By the way, we highly recommend Theo of Golden. It's one of the few books that we absolutely all enjoyed and thought it was wonderful. So if you haven't read Theo, read Theo of Golden. I also want to call it, while I'm talking about my book club, I'd like to call your attention to the fact that Virginia Holbrook is here, and her son was on my debate team and was one of the top 10 teams in the country 2 years in a row. Mary Carmen is the mother of a national champion in Lincoln Douglas debate. Her daughter Claire was one of our national champions, so congratulate Mary when you see her at the end. Raise your hand. There are a lot of pretty wonderful people here, and I want to say this. It was a privilege to teach at Vestavia Hills High School. This is hard to explain, but here's the deal. It was a collective. It's an amazing thing. It was a building full of smart, driven people who were dedicated to what they were trying to accomplish. They set high standards, and they expected people to stand up and measure up. And you know, it's amazing. Somerset Maugham, the great American novelist, said that if you expect the best, you're very likely to get it. And that was always the way we worked over there on top of that hill. We expected the very best, and we usually got it. And Reba Clark interviewed me on a Sunday morning because I happened to be in Birmingham, going through Birmingham at the end of the National Speech and Debate Tournament. I was teaching in Hattiesburg. Loved it. And we worked out a deal so that when we stopped here and spent the night, she and Dr. Persall interviewed me for this job on a Sunday morning on their way to church. And I said to myself, Self, these people want a debate program. And they did. But I want to say this. I really appreciate it. And by the way, Courtney Davis, Courtney, I don't know where you are. Are you still Courtney Davis? I haven't seen Courtney since she graduated 30 years ago. But anyway, Courtney was one of my debaters. Ben Osborne was one of my debaters. The infamous David Powell was one of my debaters. And I appreciate that they came out here to be with us tonight, and how special of you to do that. We had an unusual situation at Vestavia that lots of people didn't have. I remember extremely well when, I can't remember what the topic was, but I do remember having a conversation with Barbara Gajewski. Because the topic was relative to her sociology. You remember this? Relative to her, I do, relative to her sociology background. And I went diddy-bopping over to her room and sat down for 30 minutes with her, and I learned about totem. Do you know what totem is? I didn't. But you know what? I do now. And we used some of Barbara's ideas in our analysis of that topic. And it was because I had Barbara Gajewski that we won a lot of debate rounds. And we also had here in the speech events, lots of times I used to say, okay, I think I've done all I can do with you. Go down to Miss Brass's room and let her see what she thinks. Right, Beverly? And they'd go down there and she'd polish. So people who had to debate and give speeches for the Vestavia people, they had to get around the fact that they didn't just have one coach, they had two of us that were working on those kids, and it was a pretty fun experience. And then we had little conversations after that. Probably the best story that I can think of was when we were first starting the program, probably about year 3 after I came here. We were in Tuscaloosa at a debate tournament. And we were doing policy debate. There were 2 kinds of debate at the time. And we were doing policy debate, and there was something about science in the debate topic that year. And, you know, we had our little stuff that we were ready for, and the kids were doing well. And we heard about this strange thing, whatever it was, that it had something to do with space, that we were going to run up against in the tournament. And it was odd, and we didn't know much about it. So I said to my students, you aren't going to believe this if you are really familiar with Vestavia High School. I said to my students, we need to call Mr. Shoemaker. And you didn't call Mr. Shoemaker. Well, I was dumb enough, you know, I was new enough, I didn't know that you didn't disturb Mr. Shoemaker. And the kids were looking at me like, oh, I don't think so. And I said, yeah, we'll put our quarters together, because then you didn't have cell phones, you know, you had to use a payphone. So we put our quarters together, and this poor kid calls. I said, now you need to call him, not me, you need to call him. And we called over there, and you are not going to believe this, but Jim Shoemaker came to the telephone. He left his class and came to the telephone and talked to that kid about whatever it was, and we mowed those people down. It was great. And you know what? He never complained, not one time, when I took those kids out of class, because he saw how what I was doing complemented what he was doing. And the same thing was true with, of course, Barbara Gajewski was nice. You didn't have to worry about that. But I think she caught up with that idea too. And I think most of the teachers at the high school realized that there was a lot of complementary cross-curriculum work going on. And I remember Donna Ernest saying, this is so good for these kids, it just applies it to everything that they're doing. And I said, thank you. I'm glad I don't have to point it out. I'm glad it's obvious. So I want to say also that this is important because, wait a minute, before I do that, one thing I want to say. We had the best principal, and I am so sorry that Mr. Gross is not well and can't be here tonight, but you know what? 2 days ago, since the postponement, a week and 2 days ago, he called me to explain to me, about his surgery and what was going on and the whole bit, why he wasn't going to be here. Mr. Gross was the rare principal who hired the people that he thought were the best he could get, and then he did everything he could to open doors so we could do what we were good at. And he did not try to micromanage our classrooms. He let us do what we needed to do in our classrooms. And the man was a genius. He really was. And I don't mean he was a smart academic or something like that. That's not the point. The point is he could manage people, and I felt so much support. And our leadership at that time was amazing. And I'm sorry he's not here. He's a great guy. And we certainly can be thankful for Mike Gross. But I want to say one last thing, and that is that I really hope that that you can appreciate what goes on in Vestavia Hills. Vestavia Hills is a unique community. We travel 18 to 21 weekends every year and 2 weeks out of the summer. That is a lot. Trust me, that's a lot of additional time and energy for me and those kids. And we don't want to forget those kids were the ones who were doing the actual work. I was pushing, they were doing the work. And it's a pretty amazing group of people. The day that I walked out of Vestavia High School for the last time, I said to the faculty, you don't realize what a little sweet spot you have here, and you do. Vestavia is a great spot to be in. If you're going to teach school, you can't beat it. We come from a community where, from the very beginning, and I want to say to you, those of you in the lower grades, we are not stupid at the high school. We realize what you do, and we realize that the flagship of a school system, it may be the high school because they get all the noise and they get all the attention, but we know that it's what you do and the background you give those kids that makes us work at the high school level. And thank you for what you've done. And those of you who love middle school, bless your heart. It really takes calling for that. And I just think it's wonderful what you do. Thank you for all of this, and I would remind you that if you expect the very best, you're very likely to get it.
I realize you're an English teacher, so let's just pretend like I didn't misspell your name behind me. Okay. We do have it spelled correctly on the resolution. Sorry about that. And I'll vouch for Theo and Gold. Yeah. All right. Frederick Jones. Frederick's family. All right. here we go. Whereas the Board of Education for the City of Vestavia Hills, Alabama was established on April 30th, 1970, and whereas Vestavia Hills City Schools owes its 5-decade history to those faculty and staff members who have dedicated themselves to providing every student the opportunity to learn without limits. And whereas Fred Jones was an educator who was employed by the Vestavia Hills City Schools from 1970 to 1989. And whereas Mr. Jones served as a social studies teacher at Lewis Bazitz Middle School. And whereas Mr. Jones brought civics and history to life for his students through engaging instruction, humor, and personal connection. And whereas Mr. Jones was known for his professionalism, his ever-present dress shirt and tie, the importance of handshakes, and his unwavering respect for every student in his care. And whereas Mr. Jones instilled in his students the importance of awareness, communication, and character, reminding them always to use their gifts wisely. And whereas the Board of Education wishes to posthumously honor Mr. Jones for his lifetime of service and impact on thousands of lives in the city of Vestavia Hills and beyond, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, that the board hereby recognizes and congratulates Frederick Jones as an inductee in the 2025 class of the Vestavia Hills City Schools Hall of Fame. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be recorded upon the minutes of this meeting and a copy presented to the family of Mr. Jones, adopted and approved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, the second day of February 2026. Congratulations.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am Calandra Jones McDonald. My father was Frederick Jones, and my mother is out in the audience, Brownie Jones, who is a retired high school guidance counselor from Vestavia Hills High School. I just want to let you know it's not the class of 1991, it is the class of 1988, because I am a proud graduate of Vestavia Hills High School and the Vestavia Hills school system. At the time that I graduated, we were the largest class to have ever gone through the school system. But to get back to my father started the school. He was one of the first teachers, one of the first educators when the school system first began. He was recruited by Dr. Clark from the Bessemer City Schools. So he was one of the first male symbols that actually came through the school system. And when I was eligible to come to school, I started first grade at Vestavia Hills Elementary East, and then the West School was built in 1977. And I started second grade, and this man was my second grade teacher at Vestavia Hills Elementary West. And I, at that time, when I became a fifth grader, right before I became a fifth grader, my father got tired of going from the middle school to pick me up after school. It's like, oh, Lewis Bazitz, they're coming to, the fifth graders are coming back to Bazitz Middle School. I'm getting my child. So, hence, I did not get married until I was 36 because no one is going to touch Mr. Jones's daughter, right? So, just to let you know, I did attend Bazitz Middle School, and then, of course, my mother was a high school guidance counselor, so who was going to touch me then? Because she was always analyzing them, right? Making sure that they're going to school. But just to let you know, this is such a wonderful award that this resolution has been done posthumously for my father. And one thing that he always did is he did say, strive for excellence. Make sure that you have endurance. And with all of that, I've heard so many people say, well, I remember Mr. Jones. So you have your memories, and I do too. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Caroline Lytle. Okay. Whereas the Board of Education for the City of Vestavia Hills, Alabama was established on April 30th, 1970, and whereas the Vestavia Hills City Schools owes its 5-decade history to those faculty and staff members who have dedicated themselves to providing every student the opportunity to learn without limits. And whereas Carolyn Lytle is an educator who was employed by Vestavia Hills City Schools from 1988 to 2008, and whereas Ms. Lytle served as a third grade teacher and reading coach at Vestavia Hills Elementary West, and whereas Mrs. Lytle modeled kindness, professionalism, and excellence in all aspects of her work, leading by example and inspiring both students and colleagues. And whereas Mrs. Lytle cared deeply for each student as an individual, cultivating a love of reading and learning that extended well beyond her classroom. And whereas Mrs. Lytle's legacy continues through the countless teachers she mentored and the many students whose lives she helped shape. And whereas the Board of Education wishes to honor Mrs. Lytle for her lifetime of service and impact on thousands of lives in the city of Vestavia Hills and beyond. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, that the board hereby recognizes and congratulates Carolyn Lytle as an inductee in the 2025 class of the Vestavia Hills City Schools Hall of Fame. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be recorded upon the minutes of this meeting and a copy presented to the family of Mrs. Lytle. Adopted and approved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, this the second day of February, 2026. Congratulations.
So for what it's worth, the classes of 92 and 95 are like a word with 88 and 91. So we keep going along the way. I'm Michael Lytle, and this is my sister Allison Powell. We're the proud children of Carolyn Lytle. Her health doesn't allow her to be here today, so we're speaking on her behalf. And so we just want to say thank you. What a beautiful thing. When I was thinking about what to say for Mom, it really started with her love of teaching the love of reading to students, and heard it across the stage this morning, heard it from others. I mean, I had you for English, had you for psychology, had you for speech, I had you for 5th grade. You were my counselor for high school. I mean, I'm looking around the room and it's really just kind of incredible. And I think, Jay can say the same, David can say the same. We are blessed as a community. But Mom, at her core, reading was a lifetime love of hers. And she knew that it didn't start at the end. It didn't start with the test scores and the assessments. It didn't start in the middle with fluency and vocabulary. It started at the very beginning, which can we get students to love learning? And that's why she went all the way back to 3rd grade, because she wanted to start at the beginning with them and help those, I heard it earlier, those students who were on the margin, who needed that extra push. That was her passion. And she loved watching those kids choose to read because they wanted to, not because they had to. And I'll be honest, I remember an 11th grade text or two that I didn't have a whole lot of interest in reading, if we're going to be honest. But I remember you teaching us, why should we do it, not why do we have to do it? And so I think what a beautiful thing that we've gotten to hear tonight from all these teachers. We're lucky as a community, we're graduates. Both of our children are graduates. My wife and I's son is a senior, and our youngest is an 8th grader at Pizzette. So we are blessed as a family to get to see it from so many different directions. And just so congratulations to all that are being honored, and thank you to a school system that cares about their teachers.
All right, Mary Box Williams. Whereas the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama was established on April 30th, 1970, and whereas the Vestavia Hills City Schools owes its 5-decade history to those faculty and staff members who have dedicated themselves to providing every student the opportunity to learn without limits. And whereas Mary Bice Williams was an educator who was employed by Vestavia Hills City Schools from 1970 to 1997, beginning her teaching career at Vestavia Hills Elementary East prior to the formation of the city school system. And whereas Ms. Williams served as a 4th grade teacher at Vestavia Hills Elementary East and at Vestavia Hills Elementary Central, and whereas Ms. Williams devoted her life to teaching with joy, compassion, and excellence, instilling each child with warmth and encouragement, and whereas Ms. Williams was a steady source of comfort and inspiration to students and families alike, modeling the values of empathy, service, and resilience. And whereas the Board of Education wishes to posthumously honor Ms. Williams for her lifetime of service and impact on thousands of lives in the city of Vestavia Hills and beyond. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, that the board hereby recognizes and congratulates Mary Vice Williams as an inductee in the 2025 class of the Vestavia Hills City Schools Hall of Fame. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be recorded upon the minutes of this meeting and a copy presented to the family of Ms. Williams, adopted and approved by the Board of Education for the city of Vestavia Hills, Alabama, the second day of February 2026. Congratulations.
So I just wanted to take a few moments to speak on behalf of my mom, Mary Vice Williams. My mom loved Vestavia, this community, its schools, and especially the students that filled them. She dedicated her life to education, whether she was in her classroom or volunteering at her church. She was always involved in programs and activities with children. In 1967, she began her career as a student teacher at East, back when it was still part of the Jefferson County school system. After graduating from Samford University, she returned to East to start her journey teaching 4th grade. In 1970, the Vestavia City School System was formed. With any new school system, there can be a lot of uncertainty, but she saw the opportunities and chose to stay, a decision she never regretted. Over the next 30 years, as the city grew, she taught 4th grade across several other schools, including Pizitz and West, before moving to Central when it opened in 1987. She enjoyed working alongside some of the best educators anywhere and was fortunate to be at a system that supported its teachers. In 1997, she retired, but only for 1 week. Superintendent Smith called and asked her to return part-time in a newly created academic support position. She didn't even hesitate to say yes. There were still students she could help for a few more years. A few more years turned into 20. In 2017, at the age of 71, she finally retired for good. It was a difficult decision, but she had plans to travel and spend more time with family. Sadly, her well-earned retirement was short-lived as she passed away unexpectedly in 2019. She loved reconnecting with former students, whether she was stopped in a grocery store or someone reached out on Facebook. She was excited to hear what they had accomplished since their days in her classroom. Over the years, we heard countless stories from former students about Miss Bice, her old Mercury Cougar, and the impact she had on her students' lives. She taught future doctors, nurses, businessmen and women, a stuntman and actor, and even a silver medal winning Olympic athlete. So many success stories, and she was proud to have been part of that. In who they become, knowing she made a difference. She cared about each and every student who passed through her life. We all recognize the demands placed on teachers each day. They do work most of us could never imagine taking on. But many, like my mom, are truly called to it. She understood those challenges and she embraced them. She didn't teach for recognition. She taught because she truly loved her students and the faculty and believed the power and importance of education, even when that meant explaining math for a 5th time, breaking up arguments over school supplies, or answering questions that begin with, Miss Williams, what could happen if? Her 50-year career began and ended here in Vestavia, a place she loved with all her heart. It was interesting, to say the least, having 2 parents in education, both serving the community. My dad, Jim Williams, was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2023 after serving as principal at East for 18 years. Long hours and late nights at school were common. Together, they devoted their lives to improving the lives of students. Today, I have the honor and privilege of accepting this award on behalf of Mary Vice Williams, and to see her legacy recognized along so many remarkable individuals who helped shape the Vestavia community. On behalf of our family, we thank you for this honor.
That is, without question, the most warm and encouraging part of the year for me to listen to what just took place. But can't you just feel the affection and admiration for the inductees, families? I hope you feel that tonight. This is really special to hear these things said about, and so very well deserving. So thank you, family, thank you, inductees, for the legacy that you've given our schools that we hope to carry on to honor you. I want to, as we close, extend an appreciation to Whit McKee, who's our Director of Public Relations, and he's in the back there. He's the person behind the eloquence of these resolutions, and I appreciate that, and also organizing this event and coordinating all the efforts. Whit also cheers up the committee that takes this process forward, and it really begins tonight. Whit, I want to invite you to come up and just share where we're heading from this moment forward. Thanks.
I hope that you have been just richly blessed by this time tonight and the experience together. And I want you to know, just speaking on behalf of our entire team in the school system, what a blessing it is for us to be able to honor you tonight, our Teachers of the Year and our new Hall of Fame inductees. So here in a moment, we have a wonderful dessert spread from Roll's Bakery here in Vestavia Hills for you at the back of the room. Love for you to spend time continuing to talk with those who are here tonight. But we always like to end these ceremonies with a question that we want you to take with you tonight. And the question is, who should be next? Who is the next group of people that should be inducted into the Vestavia Hills City Schools Hall of Fame? We are really fortunate to have a lot of alumni here tonight. We have a lot of our current and former employees of the school system here, a lot of community members, those of you who have wonderful stories and firsthand experiences of the impact that teachers and support staff and administrators have had on your lives and on your children's lives and on this community as a whole. We want to know who those individuals are. We want you to tell us about them. And so starting tonight, the nominations for the class of 2026 are open. I'm going to leave this slide on the screen for the rest of our time this evening. If you have a phone and can point your camera at the QR code, it'll take you to our Hall of Fame page, or you can just punch vhcs.us/Hall of Fame into your computer when you get home. You'll see all of our current Hall of Fame members, as well as the form to submit a nomination. But let us know who should be next. We would be honored to have you again here next year, as well as we induct the next group of Hall of Fame members. Dr.
Thanks, Whit.
One final note tonight. I think it goes without saying, one of the other keys to success in our schools is the support we get from our community at large, and there are a lot of groups that, in addition to parents, that support what happens in classrooms, makes the experiences we think unique for our students. And in the spirit of recognizing one of our inductees tonight, the Vestavia Hills Rotary Club is one of those supporters. And just this earlier today recognized our Teachers of the Year, but they have this event coming up in March. It's actually on March the 12th at 6 o'clock in this building. And it's a celebration of America's 250th anniversary, and it is going to be a debate. Our kids, our students at the high school are going to be given a topic which they don't know what will be until that night. They're going to debate, and then we're going to have 4 judges determine who wins the debate, and Mary Lee Dukes will be one of those judges. So if you're interested in being a part of it, after what I heard tonight, I wouldn't think you'd want to miss this. So that is outstanding. You may, if you're interested in it, there's a guy named Kent Howard right here, and he is Vestavia guy, got kids that have gone through as well, and he can tell you all the things about this. But what the event will do is it will support the debate program, and we're real appreciative. So see Ken if you're interested in attending that. So this concludes our program for tonight. I really appreciate you coming out again. It means the world to us for you taking the time to do this and recognize our inductees for this special occasion. So enjoy dessert, drink, and be safe on your travels home tonight.